For that of the first one to come into this particular incarnation is the one now referred to as that of Holly. We see for this one to be born in the land area that is now referred to as that of Romania. We see for that of the time period to be that of the early to middle 1400s AD. We see for this one to be born within that of a group of people that were mobile. We see for these ones that at other times and places would be referred to more as gypsy-like individuals, not having that of a town or a city to live in, but using that of caravans as a way of getting through that of life. We see for these particular ones to be a lot of hard workers who would basically hire themselves out at different farms and cities and towns, and others were entertainers, and others would act more like would be considered more of a traditional kind of gypsy, somewhat intuitive, psychic, and so forth. But they were really more rare within this particular group. We see when this one was born, for this one to have that of a father that was more of an entertainer. He would make things sort of like that of a magician in a way, a little bit, some little small tricks that would amaze that of individuals. And he was also somewhat of a dancer in a way, and almost like who would do acrobatics as far as that of an entertainment as well. We see for that of the mother that this one had. We see for her to be a bit more on the intuitive level, in that she had a bit of psychic abilities in herself, but she never really trusted them. But when these ones would be in that cities or towns that were receptive to such an idea, then she would get out the principle of that of tarot cards that were available at that particular time and do types of readings and so forth. But she always stayed away from doing this in cities that were more conservative, because one could be killed by some group if they did not like it, or they considered it anti-religious in some particular fashion. We see when this one was born, for this one to already have that of an older brother, an older sister as well. We see a part of this one's intentions within that particular incarnation was to begin towards working on a blending of assertiveness and that of receptivity at the very same time for that particular life. We see for this one to set things up perfectly for a type of learning and a gauntlet in a way, or a maze of things that this one would have to work through to be able to find that balance within this oneself. So we see when this one was born, this one, and for quite a few years, this one knew the intentions quite easily, because this one had not become too cognitive, or much of the brain hadn't taken over yet at that particular time. So we see within this particular thing that of a year and a half later, we see for that of the one who's now referred to as Alan to be born. And we see for this one to be born as the younger brother. So we see both of these ones in this particular lifetime to be that of brothers, the older one being that of Holly, and that of the younger one being that of Alan. So we see when Alan came in, this one had the very same kind of scenario, the same family, the same brothers, the same sisters, and so forth. And a familiarity of this one's intentions was basically very similar to that of the older brothers as well. How to be a male within that of the physical world, and at the same time develop more of an intuition within the self, and not just rely upon that of thinking mind. So we see when these ones came into that connection in that particular lifetime, it was arranged for these ones to do this on an inner level, because there was attributes that each of these ones could aid each other in this particular movement within that of consciousness. And we see also for there to be a strong familiarity, or a connection that was being created from the very beginning, because there was not any other younger brothers or sisters. So that of the younger brother was the youngest within the family system. And like that of most family systems, we see for that the next older brother was to take care of the next younger brother. And so even in the earlier years, by the time these ones begin to reach that of the middle childhood years, that of the older brother started taking more and more care or giving instructions to that of the younger brother during this time. But while these ones were still young, when these ones were still in that intuitive place, these ones could read each other's minds. These ones knew what was going on. These ones still knew that there was an inner agreement that this was going to happen. And so we see there to be a type of excitement about this on that of a level within this on how is this going to proceed, because these ones both knew that there's always events that can change the course of any particular lifetime. We see that these ones were interested in how much of that of this deeper understanding was going to be acquired during that particular lifetime. So we see for this to be just a part of the joint shared experience as young children at that particular time, still coming from that of intuition, and at the same time then beginning to move into that of the thinking stages, of which these ones knew again that most of the information, most of the intuition would be lost because of the necessity of being within that of the society or the caravan or that of the gypsies, to have these one's own personal, even more personal paths to be developed at that particular time. So we see things to be pretty easy within that the beginning years, and then it begin to get more difficult going through that of childhood. And that within this, the difficulty was that of the older brother was told that this one still must take care of that of the younger brother and show this one all the ropes and how to be within that of the world, even at a time when that of the older brother wasn't even sure about what everything was, because these ones were still just in the middle ages of that of childhood at that particular time. We see for that of the younger brother at this time to um, follow along, because the father or the mother quite often would be so busy. So much of the connecting link was with that of the older brother, because these ones had a common purpose beyond that of just learning how to become gypsies within that particular lifetime. So we see within that of the beginning years, there was this place where there was this sense of responsibility being taken on, and one needed to be with that. But we see when that of the time kept going by, when that of the older one was now around that of 10 and the younger one around 8 or so, we see for that of the older one to get frustrated, because this one wanted to have this one's own life. This one did not always want to have to be taking the younger brother everywhere that this one was going. And so that of the younger brother would feel this sense of frustration within himself, and begin to feel a sense of abandonment in a certain way. Not an extreme amount, but this one wanted to go where that of the older brother went. But we see at this time the older brothers say, well, you have to make friends your own age, because even at this time and space, with that of just a population of 120 individuals within this particular caravan, there was a limitation on that of the children and the children's ages at that time. But there was several others around the age, both boys and girls, that were more near the same age of each one of these ones. And so within this, we see for that the younger one to feel this sense of a little sense of abandonment, and wanted people to play with, when that of the older one was off playing within his friends that were a little bit older. And we see for this one to do it mainly because this one felt this one had to. This one was beginning to feel lonely inside of this oneself, because these ones in a way had been connected at the hip for many, many years during that the beginning parts of that of childhood. So we see for these ones to still be, obviously, to be still within the same caravan and still being that of brothers, but that sense of over connection was beginning to wane at that particular time, which actually improved the life of both of these ones at that particular time. But we see for that the younger one not to necessarily recognize it at that time, not yet, not until that of later. So we see for these ones in that of the training that these ones received, going from village to village and town to town and farming areas to that of farming areas. We see both of these ones had that of the father was much more acrobatic in a certain way. And we see for that of the older one to really be interested in this. And we see the younger one to be interested too, but not as much as that of the older one. That of the older one wanted to be like the father because that of the father got the attention of that of everyone. We see for that of the younger one to have some interest, but this one was more interested being around this one's mother, specifically when that of the mother was at the towns or that of the villages where she would get out her types of old cards that were used at that time and do readings for individuals. And this one could see that the mother was really getting as much attention as that of the father, but this one liked the magic side of things. That the mother couldn't quite explain that it wasn't necessarily magic to this one. It was just what cards did, and there was a spiritual factor involved into it. But for many people, it seemed like a magical thing that was happening at that time. So we see for this one to get a bit more involved and wanting to learn how to do those things over time that the mother was doing. But we see there was a problem around this. We see the only ones who did this intuitive kind of thing, such as that of giving a kind of psychic advice and so forth, was only that of the women. Men were not allowed to do this. And so we see for this one to feel somewhat cheated a little bit. And so we see for this one to try to focus attention on becoming more like the older brother and being with the father and learning acrobatics and how to stand out in a crowd and do drama in some ways. Sometimes it would move into types of little plays that these ones would do to entertain folks for getting that of finances and so forth. But we say also at the same time, these ones were not always completely honest. For within that of the group, although at times these ones could make an okay living as far as not dying and not starving to death, sometimes these ones would rely upon other forms of tricks, such as pickpocketing that of individuals or finding ways to get a hold of things that were not these, for that of the intention of well, basically keeping the caravan and that of everybody in a place of not being hungry or being able to buy a few things within that of life as well. And so we see for these ones to learn the art of pickpocketing, these ones thought it was really funny how to be able to be like a magician in a way, sort of the things that of the father would do, but at the same time to look at the expressions on individuals' face when they lost their money because somebody took it out of their pocket at that particular time. So it seemed like a very funny thing to do. So as these ones became that of the older children and that of the younger teens that these ones were, these ones would help confiscate that of items from that of other people. And whenever these ones got a good amount of a type of money or something, everyone would congratulate these ones a lot until these ones got caught. We see for these ones actually to get caught when these ones were around 15 and a little around that of 13 in a perspective, since these ones were in a way doing it together at that particular time. And that of the village was just horrified in a way. And these ones were put in jail. And we see for these ones to be told that some kind of authorities would come and these ones would end up in prison. And we see while these ones were confined, people would abuse these ones at that time by throwing garbage on these ones. Not so much like torturing these ones, but urinating on these ones when these ones were in a kind of stock at that particular time for everyone to see. Now we see eventually after about 5 or 6 days of these, we see for these ones to be let go, but it really traumatized both of these ones at that particular time because what was so much fun was not fun anymore at that particular time. So we see inevitably these ones were able to refine that of the caravan and get back in, but we see it served these ones in another way. We see for that of the younger one to realize this one was not going to do that again because, well, it was a type of suffering and humiliation. So this one tried to do that of the thing of entertainer and so forth. And at the same time, this one would talk to this one's mother about the feelings that this one had experienced during the being confiscated by that of the village. And we see for it was her ability to be empathetic. It was her ability to have a good heart in that of trying to understand that let this one start to work through some of that of the emotions that this one had. We see for that of the older brother to rely more upon what that of the father would say, which would be such things as it happens on occasion within that of life, and you have to take that of the risk. So we see for that of the older one to listen more to that of the father. And as terrified as this one was as well, this one began to hold back this one's feelings at that time and not share that of the feelings because this one did not want to look like a non-male, so to speak, within that of the eyes of that of the father or some other males within that of the caravan at that particular time. But it was that particular event that shifted these ones from not understanding each other anymore. Because we see for that of the younger one to try to work with that of feelings now. That be and in very subtle ways begin to learn how to be more intuitive as a result of being once again getting back to that of the feeling nature or the intuitive nature of that of the mother. So this one began to find more of a balance. We see as time kept going on, we see for that of the older one to still do all the things that this one was supposed to do, but never touch base with that of feelings. Which made this a bit reckless at times. In other words, a type of acting out in a way is what would occur. And almost since this one did not understand it, this one was almost always getting caught about doing the same thing. In this one's acting out, this one would almost wish that this one was getting caught because since this one never had ever worked with out of the feelings of being confiscated the first time, a part of this one in this one's own way would be drawn into situations where those feelings would start to rise again, not knowing why this one was doing what this one was doing. But what you see now for these ones to be approximately 20 and that of 18 years of age. We see for that the distance between these ones got further and further away. And basically, what it was, that of the older one being around the younger one would say ways that it was important for this one to be more with the mother or this intuitive thing or the feeling or to express. Not in those particular words, but this one had more of an understanding of what created that of health. We see for that of the older one would get mad at that of the younger one because this one was following the path of the males and would call this one somewhat like a girl at times. And that would really hurt the feelings of that of the younger one as well. Because again, this one, the younger one was still trying to work on certain things the same way as that of the older one. From that at the very beginning, there was the intention of coming into that particular incarnation. We see eventually for that of the older one marry around just a little after that of 20 years of age to have that of two children during that time. But we see by the time that the older one was 24 for this one to be killed by that of a village. And basically what had happened, these ones went into that village. We see for this one to be taking items from that of individuals, being more in the reckless place, trying to get something bigger than only one individual should get, and this one got caught. And so we see for this one to begin to get a huge beating by about 4 or 5 that men. Although they did not intentionally kill this one, the intention was to beat this one up so badly that this one would never do it again, but it actually caused the physical cause of the withdrawal of the body at that particular time. So we see for this one to withdraw from the body at the age of 24 from that particular causation. We see for this one to be referred to in that particular lifetime as Hator at that particular time. We see when all of this occurred for that of the younger brother, we see for this one to be really sad because this brought up all the good memories of when these ones were children for the many years until that difficult event occurred. We see for this one also to feel a sense of this one knew something was wrong but didn't do anything, couldn't do anything else about it. In other words, this one there was a problem with that of the brother, and that of the older brother would not listen to this one at all. We see for that of this to bother this one for the rest of that particular life, that this one should have intervened in some particular way, or when this one could see the older brother going off and doing something dangerous or reckless in a way, to maybe jump on this one and stop him within the process, because as this one could see, there could be a potentiality of not just getting garbage thrown on oneself or people urinating on oneself, but actually these ones had known others who had gotten killed around that of when these ones had got caught doing that of something that the villagers or other people did not agree with at that particular time. But we see what this one did do within that life, since that of the older brother was gone. We see for this one not to have married up to this particular point, but we see for there to be enough closeness between that of the wife of the older brother, that this one married that of the older brother's wife and began to raise that of the children. And a part of it was this one kind of wanted to, but this one also felt a sense of obligation that this one should do this, because this one had not been strong enough around that of the older brother to stop him from getting into trouble in such a way which would cause that of the death. So we see as far as the relationship between that of the younger brother and the older brother's wife to be okay, but it was more, it felt more like not a sense of happiness or choice. It was more like taking on responsibility. And so, although things were okay, it was never what be considered a dynamic relationship at that particular time. So we see for that of the older one to continue on within this particular path. We see for this one to become at that particular time, this one would try to become in a way like the mother. In other words, this one would try to be a male, even though this one was a male. This one would try to do those what this one considered fantastic magical things that of the mother was doing, and this one could even get good at it. But villagers or other people really didn't accept this one because came from a woman's intuition. It didn't come from a man's intuition. So again, there was a bias around within the collective on who could do this and who could not within this. So we see as far as that of the overall intention and purpose for that of the younger one to get more assertive and at the same time develop that of a sense of intuition and be able to use this. This one had that of the opportunities, but due to the society, this one was not allowed to really act it out, not fully within that particular lifetime. But within this, a portion of the goals were reached. How to be assertive in the world and how to be intuitive, not only through the acts of it, but that of an intention at that time too, that there's always something more going on than just the apparent things. In other words, those are the things that this one saw about their brother before that of the brother finally got caught about being so reckless in that incarnation. We see inevitably for that of the younger one or the younger brother to withdraw from the physical around the age of 38. We see for the physical causation was that of a dark or a black plague going through that of the area. We see for this one to be referred to as sort of, it's a like George, but it was more like Horge within that particular lifetime. So we see as far as that and the significance of that of the past to that of the present is once again, these ones have brought these oneself together within that of the present time to, in a way, to find that of a balance of questioning and understanding. We see as far as that of the one who's referred to as that of Holly within the present time. We see for this one to be curious about that of the one who is that of referred to as Alan within the present time. But this one is in a questioning place where there's a sense of being drawn for a sense of need of being responsible. But at the same time, we see for that of the one who's referred to as Holly is to be more assertive within that of the present time once again, and not necessarily trusting that of the intuition within that of the present time, although this one has good intuition. If this one gets rid of opinions about how this one is supposed to be within that of the world. We see for that of the one who's referred to as that of Alan within the present time, although at times this one will consider this oneself highly intuitive, but at the same time withdrawn. We see it's not important for this one to be intuitive and withdrawn within the present time. So we see when this one notices that of the one who's referred to as that of Holly, that is what this one also wants to be within this lifetime. Not that of a girl, obviously, but to have that of the quality of showing up within the world, the quality of getting assertive, and at the same time being intuitive within this one's own self. Because if one is intuitive and is somewhat of a recluse on a subtle way or a big way, then one is not really experiencing that of the physical life around these ones, around this one. So between that the two of these ones, a part of that the purpose of the one who is now referred to as that of Alan, to bring out that of the intuition in some way, to in a small way, not a big way, because we see for that of the one who's now referred to as Holly still has reactions around this in the physical life. Not necessarily with this one within the present time, but within this one's own life. This one would much rather be assertive and doing things within that of the world rather than necessarily being with this one's feelings within this oneself. This one will uses that for distraction in some way. So what's he and would suggest that of the one referred to as Alan, this one is here is more the counselor. This one has, in a sense, part of this one wants to get involved because this one feels that this one needs to repay that of all the attention this one got within that of the past life related. Now we see within this particular theme, it doesn't mean there's anything there for this one to repay, and it's more underneath the more basic causes of attraction, or that of the idea that there needs to be some kind of performance here in some particular way, or around that of sexuality, or all those things are not necessarily going to happen or not going to happen, because there's a deeper intention of bringing out the qualities of assertiveness and that of receptivity. So we see again, this is where there can be a learning just by connecting, and more so for the one who's referred to as Alan, because this one has more of an understanding about how important that receptivity is. Would suggest obviously that of events, circumstances, and conditions will come up that of over time to allow this to play itself out. But at the same time, there's no obligation that this one has to do anything within this particular circumstance. But at the same time, within that of the role of teacher, the one who has certain wisdoms about the deeper meanings of that of life, then that makes it available for this one to give, to be consultant in a certain way. And that would create more of a harmoniousness between the connection between these ones here, because that of the one who's referred to as Holly is, this one is diverted into other areas. This one wouldn't check out this one's feelings to see what this one felt. In other words, it's more of a let's get active and do things, but let's not necessarily feel anything within that of life. This is all. If there's any questions, this would be the time to ask questions.